everybody, welcome to this free live session exclusively brought to you by TalentSprint, and I'm glad that most of you have chosen to take the time to join us today for this session where we're going to be focusing on some challenging questions from the verbal ability section, which you can definitely expect to get in any of your IT recruitment drives. Now, for those of you who've been part of these sessions, you know that every Fridays at 6 o'clock, we have these sessions scheduled where we look at various subjects, right? So we address quantitative aptitude, reasoning, computer programming and verbal ability section. The objective being, of course, that you have access to good content, you have access to some really smart strategies and concepts that you can apply. So it becomes easier for you when you attempt these aptitude tests, right? That being the first hurdle. The test itself is challenging for a lot of us. So I think with the competition that we have, we really need to gear up and ensure that we know certain things, that kind of sets us apart from the rest of the crowd. So that's one of the objectives. Also, letting you guys know that we have centers available in Hyderabad and Secunderabad. So if you're anywhere around that area, you can definitely take advantage of the programs that we offer. You can visit our website www.talentsprint.com/IT, right? And you have various programs. I would advise you to go through them and choose whichever works for you. So when it comes to the verbal ability section, right, before I share the presentation with the questions, when it comes to the verbal ability section, one of the things is, if you ask me, every question is challenging one way or the other to different people, right? For some of you, sentence improvement might be a challenging question type. For some of you, spot the error might be a challenging question type. For few others, vocabulary based questions, right? Idioms and phrases, synonyms, antonyms, spellings, so things like that. So we're just going to look at, is there a way in which we can approach these questions differently, right? Is there some strategy that we can fall back, especially spellings? Right? Most of your vocabulary based questions, either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. That's how it is. If you know the answer, you'll attempt it. If you don't know the answer, you're going to move forward. But if there is a strategy or a concept that I can still apply and maximize my chances of scoring that extra mark, why not? Right? So that's what this session is about. Do you know that this is also a way in which you can approach this question, right? That's what I'm going to share with you this evening. So we'll get started. Let me share the presentation, and if you have any questions, stop me. Otherwise, we'll just move forward. Yeah. So one of the first question types that we have with us is, if you look at it, it's a. Let's read the directions. It says 4 words are given, out of which only 1 word is spelt correctly. Choose the correctly spelt word and click the button corresponding to it. So, we just have to choose the one that is correctly spelled. So 4 words given. This is one pattern where I have different words in the options. Sometimes you'll have a pattern where it's the same word but just spelled differently, right? All the 4 options are the same word but spelled differently. So for a question type like this, what do? You either know it or you don't know it, right? You know the spelling of this word or you don't know it. But I would like to introduce to you something called the syllable breakup. Right? What's this? Let me put it down. SYLLABLE. What's a syllable? Anybody? Pragya, Arun, Muthu. What's a syllable? A syllable is basically one vowel sound. Right? We know our vowels. A, E, I, O, U. We are aware of our vowels. So one syllable. So we have words with 1 syllable, we have words with 2 syllables, 3 syllables, 4 syllables, right? So can you give me examples of, let's say, 1 syllable? Let's just have a basic understanding of what I'm trying to convey here first before we get to the strategy. 1 syllable. Bill, right? There's just one syllable in it. Web. Can you think of words? Just one syllable. Stop. Right? All one syllables. You have the vowel sounds there in all of these words. Two syllables. Zero. Paper. Right? 1, 2. 1, 2. Any other words that you can think of? Baby. 1, 2. Yeah? 3 syllables. Hi Raj. We just started, we're looking at spellings, this question type, and I'm sharing with you a different approach that you can take. Three syllables. Think of words. Industry. Okay, I picked a wrong color. Conference. Right? You have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Optional. Right? 1, 2, 3. What about 4 syllables? Citizenship. Four syllables. Comfortable. Right? Introduction. Other words just giving you. There are also words with 5 syllables. Right? Qualification. Right? Or certification. Right? So you have an idea when I say syllable breakup, right? This is what I mean by it. So with the given words, what you can also do is you can apply syllable, each vowel sound. So let's take the first word, debilitate. So let's break up that word, okay? So I have de, bil, tate. 4 syllables. Impeccable. Let's break it down. Impeccable. Impeccable, right? Each vowel sound. Impeccable. Inculcate. Inculcate. This inculcate is like cultivate or cooperate with a C and not with a K. Harass. Right? Harass. It's not... in fact, British way it's pronounced harassed, but still you don't have 2R. So if these are the words given, so one of the things that you need to be familiar with is how many syllables, the vowel sounds in each word. That will also help. So given the thing here, we are looking at which one is spelt correctly. Out of the 4 options, except for the first option, all the other options are wrongly spelt. This is one approach that you can take, syllable breakup, looking at the vowel sounds. Okay, so impeccable, you need 2 C's here. Inculcate, I don't need a K, I need a C. Sometimes you might be familiar with some words, so it will be easy for you. Harass, again, you don't need 2 R's, right? There you go. Let's look at another option, which is, this one is where it's the same word, it's spelled differently. Pious. Now in the first one, what we saw is syllable breakup. But the second one, what I want to introduce to you is something called being able to identify common prefixes and suffixes. That will also help us in spellings. So from the word, can you identify which is a common prefix or suffix? OUS, right? That's the common suffix. We have a lot of words that end with OUS, like delicious, fabulous, adventurous, malicious, right? A lot of words. So if you dissect the word pie, again it's 2 syllables, and we know that this is the only one that is correctly spelled. It's not pios, option 2, it's not pie as in apple pie or cinnamon pie, and it's not pios, the 4th one. So these 2 options you can apply for spellings. One is being able to identify common prefixes, suffixes, or using the syllable breakup approach. But something else that you need to do in addition to this is definitely get into the habit of writing, right? Another way to remember spellings is to also write, because when we visualize words, it's easier for us to retain, especially new and unfamiliar words that you come across, right? That's the only way you can remember spellings. But for the most part, I know that most of us skip these questions because we either know the spelling or we don't know the spelling. But these are 2 things which you can use in terms of your practice. While you take time to practice, try and apply these 2 strategies, which is the syllable breakup or being able to identify common prefixes and suffixes. But as a general habit that you can cultivate is to write, right? Visualize the word. That's the only way you can remember spellings. Okay, let's look at another question type. Spot the error. We're familiar with this direction. So there's a sentence that's divided into 4 parts, and we just have to figure out which part has the error, right? So let's look at it again. Researchers at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, are mapping India's solar hotspots where round the year sunlight makes it viable of companies to set up solar power plants. So in this sentence, one of the things that we need to work on is to be able to identify clue words in the context. So let's go part by part. Part A, researchers were at, specifying the place, okay. What are they doing? Researchers. So we're talking about more than one researcher. So plural subject, plural verb are is fine. Are mapping India's solar hotspots where round the year sunlight makes it viable. So this is a pronoun connecting, where they're doing it. Viable of, now our clue word again is right here, viable, right? So for spot the error, there are so many types of errors that you should be familiar with, but if you have practiced enough, you will be able to quickly identify that the error is in part D. Why? Because viable is followed by of, but usually viable is followed by either to or for, right? Let's look at some example sentences. You can also contribute and give some example sentences. First of all, for those of you who don't know what viable means, it means possible to use or apply, or capable of being done or used. Now, apply this meaning back to the context. So researchers at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, are mapping India's solar hotspots where round the year sunlight makes it viable, makes it possible for the companies to set up solar power plants. So the right collocation that has to go with viable in the given context is for and not of, right? Sorry about that. Viable, for. So it's important for us to be familiar with, these sort of collocations. Any questions that any of you have? For spot the error type of questions, I think if you are familiar with as many error types, right, prepositional errors, pronoun related errors, certain basic rules like subject verb agreement rules, or what word goes with what word in terms of verb plus preposition collocations, noun plus adjective collocations, things like that, it becomes easier to approach this sort of a question type and answer the question. Yeah. Let's move to our next question type. A double blank. Fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks. I personally feel that it's easier for us to figure out the word because there's a context, right? The context will always have clues. So we can always apply context clues. So couple of things, if you've been a part of my earlier sessions, you know that not just context clues, also collocations, which is nothing but associated words that go together, right? If the context is giving you a positive or negative meaning. So things like that you can quickly apply and figure out the answer. So it says, indeed, in the industries and regions hit hardest by import competition, years of dash discontent have now dash over, fueling support for populists promising to roll back globalization. So we understand that the context is giving us a negative meaning, and if you look at the options, pretty much everything is negative. But in order to identify collocations, it's important for us to pay attention to words surrounding the blank, right? Years of dash discontent. So which means here I need a word describing discontent. I need an adjective here, and here dash over. I need a phrasal verb, basically a verb plus over is a preposition, right? Verb plus preposition. A phrasal verb is what I need. Now looking at the options, let's go backwards from the second blank. What's the word from my second option that I can quickly combine with over, which I might already be familiar with? Is it contraction over, boiled over, surrogate over, modulation over, or mutation over? If you look at all your second options, everything is most of it, at least 3 out of 5 options are nouns. It ends with tion. So what's the option that we need? We need a verb. What about surrogate? Anybody can tell me what word class it is? It's also a noun, which means the only verb that is there is boiled. That's the only verb. Boiled over. Right? If a situation of feeling boils over, which means people cannot control their anger and start to fight or argue. That's what it means. So given the context, that is our right option. Right? Let me give you an example. If I say racial tensions in the area were boiling over. Right? Are you following? So if you are familiar with, so here we applied a little bit of word class, right? What word do we need? Do I need an adjective? Do I need an adverb? Do I need a noun? Do I need a verb? That's what we did here. A little bit of collocations, a little bit of word class. So indeed, in the industries and regions hit hardest by import competition, years of simmering. For those of you who don't know the meaning of simmering, anybody wants to give it a try? Simmering means basically you're filled up with pent up emotion. That's what simmering is. The simmering discontent boiled over makes absolute sense. Yeah. So indeed, in the industries and regions hit hardest by import competition, years of simmering discontent have now boiled over, fueling support for populists promising to roll back globalization, and that's our answer. So fill in the blanks again reiterating that what you need to work on is making sure you have the right strategies in place and you keep applying them, whether it's context clues, collocations, positive, negative meaning, or word class. Are you following? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let's look at our next question type, which is, we obviously know this is a jumble sentence, right? There are different patterns. This is one pattern where we already have the starting sentence and the closing sentence, and then there are options jumbled in between. We'll have to figure out. Now for this sort of a question type, what I would suggest you do is always keep looking at the options, right? Try and eliminate wrong answer options immediately as soon as you figure out what can be the starting sentence. Now if you look at the sentence one, it says the cooperative system of doing business is a good way of encouraging ordinary workers to work hard. So the context is probably going to revolve around doing business. That seems like our central idea, right? Now out of P, Q, R and S, which is the one that I can quickly connect to the central idea? If the society be still well run, they get this, who is the they? To a large extent, many corporates need advice. Why? And another thing is you constantly keep asking questions. Now if you look at S, it says the capital necessary to start a business venture. So keeping in line with the central idea or the theme, S seems to be the logical sequence that will follow. And if you look at the options, I have two options starting with S. I'll immediately eliminate 2 and 4. And then I'm only going to focus on whether it's SQ or SR. Let's look at it. The capital necessary to start a business venture is obtained by the workers' contributions, right? Now the workers' contribution is how? Through what? It's basically looking at Q or R. Q says they get this from. So who's the they? I could probably relate it to workers' contribution, but at the same time, right, they've introduced the workers here. And if you look at P, it says if the society be well run is necessary to prevent insincere officials. So I can quickly relate workers to they, right? They get this from experienced and professional workers. So SQ seems to be our quick fit. So how do I quickly eliminate wrong answer options and get to the right option immediately? One way is to keep looking at the options. The second one is to try and connect the central idea, ask questions, right? Who is, if you look at some pronouns, try and ask questions. Now, who is they? Is there any reference made in the previous? There has to be a preceding sentence making reference to they, right? That's the way you go about for question types like this. So you don't really have to spend a lot of time for questions like this. You will be able to quickly unravel and finish this within 10 seconds if you ask me, right? Let's look at one more pattern under the same question type, jumble sentence. This is one pattern. Another pattern is this one that we have in front of us. We just have about what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sentences that are jumbled. We'll have to figure out, right? For a question type like this, for a pattern like this, the ideal thing to do is obviously identify some clue words and keywords. Look at just the first 2 or 3 words in each sentence. The country also. Also is a descriptive clue word, which means there has to be a sentence preceding this giving us information related to what is being said in A. This endeavor, what is that this? One of the most defining moments in this journey has been. In this journey, what journey are they referring to? These achievements, what achievements? It is more than 6 decades ago that India embarked. Maybe seems like our topic sentence, which is the first sentence. The task has not been an easy one. So what task are they referring to? So if you look at the context, right, A, B, C and D definitely cannot be the topic sentence. It cannot be the starting sentence because we've identified some clue phrases immediately. So all we need to do is we can safely fall back on E because E gives us sets the foundation. It says it is more than 6 decades ago that India embarked on the task of transforming the elitist system. So the task which we've already highlighted is mentioned here. This is the task, transforming the elitist system of education inherited from blah blah blah, right? So E becomes our topic sentence. Making reference to that is F, the task being the clue phrase. So EF is a mandatory pair. Now let's try and see if we can connect all these pairs. So when they say these achievements in D, can you identify which sentence is talking about achievements out of A, B and C? And we're not just talking about one achievement. So let's try and get some connecting pairs quickly. Let's look at A and B. So A says the country also had to contend with galloping population, neutralizing the progress made in getting children to school and ensuring quality education for all. This endeavour, stretched over more than 6 decades, has witnessed several significant policy measures resulting in remarkable progress as reflected in near universal enrollment of children in schools. Now another way in which, instead of reading the whole sentence, what you can do is look for repeat words and phrases. If I look at the context, my repeat word and phrases is I have children to school, children in schools, right? That can also act as a connecting link. Can I connect A and B? Yes, I can. So AB becomes a link, right? This endeavour is referring to the progress made in getting children to school and ensuring quality education for all, right? So AB is a link, EF is a link, we're left with C and D. Then C goes on to say one of the most defining moments in this journey of what we're still talking about, amendment of constitution, education a fundamental right. So it's become ensuring quality education for all, universal enrollment of children in schools, and all of this is connected in fact. So if I go by logic, I have EF, AB, C, and then these achievements which we see in A, B and C make sense. So that's our sequence, EF, AB, C, D. So if you get the sequence right, obviously you're going to be able to answer the questions, and please make sure, one of the tips that I keep sharing is once you get the sequence, right, it's important for you to number it so that it's easier for you to make sure you identify the answer correctly, right? Most of us get the sequence, but when we're answering the question, we miss out on some points. So which is the last one? D, which is the first one. E, which of the following is the third one? A, second one, F, and fifth one is C. So it becomes easier when you number them, right? This is a small tip that I would advise you to follow. Let's move on. This is a sentence improvement question type, right? All of us are familiar with sentence improvement question types where a phrase is highlighted and we have to figure out which one of the options is, can we replace that with. So I'm looking forward to see you soon. So I just wanted to take a minute here and talk about this because usually a lot of students come back and ask, what do I write? I am looking forward to see you soon or seeing you soon, or I look forward to seeing you soon or see you soon. Let me just clarify this, okay? You either look forward to doing something or you're looking forward to doing something, right? So it could be, ask the question, what, right? So it could be maybe listening to music this weekend, or watching your favorite sitcom back to back, or going for a movie with your friends. You're looking forward to doing that. So if you look at the phrase, whether it's look forward to or looking forward to, it's always followed by an ing form, right? For those of you who want a little grammar background, right? It's always an ing form and not any other forms. So let's look at a couple of examples to understand that, right? A lot of us make this mistake. So let's look at some example sentences to understand this. So the famous one that we are familiar with, right? I am looking forward to hearing from you, right? You would see this especially when you're waiting for a response from someone via mail, or you're waiting for the status of whatever. Maybe you've gone through an interview and then you're waiting for them to respond back with the result, right? So I'm looking forward to hearing from you, or I look forward to. It's always I look forward to doing something, right? Right, so keep in mind it answers the question what. So basically it's a gerund form, right? For those of you, I'm hoping all of you know what a gerund is. Verb plus ing form. Functions like a noun. Right? So I look forward to hear from you. Incorrect. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, that's the correct form. I look forward to what? Hearing from you. So here in the context, instead of here we have the verb see. So I'm looking forward to see you soon? No. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon, right? And that's our response. I'm looking forward to what? Seeing you soon. Do you get the picture? Though it sounds okay because we've heard people use this conversationally, right? But this is when it comes to identifying the right answer type grammatically, this is the right option. So sentence improvement, spot the error, all of that, it always requires some basic grammar concept. What's this? It's an antonym. Again, synonyms, antonyms, you either know it or you don't know it, right? Sorry. Oops, sorry about that. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. So we were in synonyms, yeah, antonym. That's what we needed to look at. So let's look at that. Let's go back to the screen. So for a question type like this, if you can apply a little bit of, what can I say, a little bit of, let's say, some, what do we call that? Just dissect the word quickly, right? The same thing that we applied for spellings. Identify common prefixes, suffixes. So if you look at this word distraught, the very common prefix is what? Let's dissect the word first. Dis, right? So I know dis as a prefix is a negative prefix. Right? It has the meaning of not or none. So having said that, by just this knowledge, if I look at my options, I have haughty, perturbed, calm and low. Right? Out of the 4 options, I need a word that is opposite in meaning to distraught. So if this is a negative meaning, I need a word that is positive from the options. That's my antonym. So the only positive word is calm. Right? Distraught, for those of you who don't know the meaning, distraught means to be perturbed, to be disturbed. Right? The opposite is calm. So if you are familiar with the meaning of this word, great. You will know immediately what's the antonym. But if you don't know, then knowledge on these common prefixes, suffixes will come handy. Right? Dis. Prefix, this is the meaning. So which means this word is negative. I need a word opposite in meaning. So from the options, I select the one that is opposite in meaning, and the only one that is positive in meaning is calm. Are you following? Let's look at one more. Choose a word that is similar in meaning. Okay, so this one is a synonym. The earlier one was a antonym, this one is a synonym. Another thing that I would want you to pay attention is to the directions, right? Some of us, we look at the directions, and then when we are answering it, we forget that the direction is actually asking us for a synonym and not an antonym, and vice versa. So you need to pay attention to the directions. Puckish. Let's dissect the word. The very common suffix that we are familiar with is ish, ish. Right? That's the common suffix. So if when you're dissecting the word, and if you come across this word puck, I don't know how many of you know the meaning of this word puck. Puck is nothing but a small I would say, you know, like a elf, like a small creature, and this creature is usually you know, mischievous. So a small mischievous creature considered to have magical powers. I will, Raj, I will, let's just complete this. I'll probably spend some time explaining that to you. Right? So, if you're not familiar with this word puck, then obviously you can just skip and move on, right? Instead of wasting a lot of time. Like I said, synonyms, antonyms, spellings, either you know it or you don't know it, but it's always good to dissect words. So, from the given options, we're looking at synonyms. So, the obvious synonym is mischievous. Only if you're familiar with this root, puck, which is a small mischievous creature, like an elf, right? What do we have here? We have a single blank. Same concept we're going to apply. Earlier we saw, you know, we applied collocations and word class. Also, one other concept for fill in the blanks is phrasal verbs, right, or collocations. So, applying the same thing, looking at words before and after the blank, we have 15 districts, maybe reeling, dash, drought, but the state government is ready to splurge around 20 crore on celebrating Chief Minister's 10 years in office. So, the context is basically, what meaning is the context giving us? It's saying, hey, you know what, 15 districts are suffering because of, this is our clue word, right, drought, but the state government, but our antonym hint word, but the state government is ready to splurge. To splurge means to spend extravagantly. Right? Around 20 crore on celebrating the Chief Minister's 10 years in office. So, they have money for that, but they are not willing to allot money for the people who are suffering. So, reeling from my options, if you are familiar with the phrasal verb, it's actually reel under, right? That's the, so reel under means to suffer because of a burden. So, I was just reeling under, just to put it in context, I was reeling under let's say the burdens of my new job. Yeah. So, it's a verb plus preposition collocation, reel under. Right? So, if you're familiar with that, you can just close your eyes and select option 5, reel under, that's our answer. So, you need to get familiar. So, Raj, just to answer your question specifically, right? Let me just take time and do that. So, basically you're saying, I don't know where to start when it comes to verbal. Let me put it this way. Verbal ability section will have obviously vocabulary, and then you will have a little bit of sentence structure, sentence correction, sentence improvement, spot the error, all of that will fall under that, right? So, basically it requires you to be able to identify errors in the sentence, which means you need to be very, very thorough with your basic grammar concepts, you know, whether it's prepositions, conjunctions, tenses, subject-verb agreement rules, certain basic rules like no sooner always goes with then, hardly always goes with when, right? No double comparatives, double superlatives, right? So, there's a lot of homework that you need to be, it's like knowing basic equations and you know, calculations, right? This is what I need to apply for this. This is a shortcut method. So, things like that, what you apply in quant and reasoning, the same thing if I have to compare, it will be your basic grammar, right? That has to be in place. So, if you are somebody who's saying, you know, verbal ability section is a challenge for me, probably your basics are not strong. So, you need to work on that, pay attention to that, right? Get familiar with some concepts like collocations, make yourself familiar as much as possible, you know, idioms and phrases, things like that. Because, I mean, if I had to put it in context, if I have to list out the question types that you will basically face in verbal ability is idioms and phrases, one word substitutions, synonyms, antonyms, spellings, what else? Analogies, reading comprehension. Now again, you will also have theme detection, right? There will be a short passage and there will be one question, which is basically asking you to, a question revolving the central theme or main idea of the passage, which means you need to have good reading fluency. You need to read fast and you need to comprehend what you're reading. So a lot of work to be done with respect to verbal ability, right? You need to start working on whatever your opportunity area. So I would advise you, Raj, to take a test every day and work from that, right? Once you take a test, you'll know what your challenging question types are, and then you pay allot time accordingly to prepare for them, right? That's the only way to go about it. And you'll also know how much time you're taking for a particular question, and that is your problematic question. So you can work that way as well. I don't know if there are any more questions left, but you get the idea, right? Let me go back and look at the presentation. I think there's one more question which we can quickly finish. Okay, this is a one word substitution. So I want you to give this a try, whoever is there out there. Try and see if you can identify clues in this context, regular users, of, places, restaurant, etc. So the options are client, clientele, often, usage, right? So what do you think from the given phrase is your clue to identify which of these options I can substitute for this phrase as a one word? If I have to use one of this word, which word will it go? Which word would be correct? So you have client, clientele, often, and usage. Are you able to identify the clue phrase in the context? Yes. Regular users, right? We're talking about people here. So obviously often, it's a word which talks about frequency, is not the right word. And usage again doesn't refer to the people. So I can quickly eliminate 3 and 4. Out of these two, again paying attention to users where we're talking about more than one person, right? So a client is your customer, clientele is a body of customers, right? It's referring to a group, and that's what we need because it says regular users, more than one person. So clientele is our answer for this question. So the context has given you some clue to help you identify the answer. I think this is our last question, which is idioms and phrases. So it was he who put a spoke in my wheel. So for question types like this, again, Raj and the rest of you, if you are not familiar with this idiomatic phrase, you're not going to be able to figure out the answer, right? Put a spoke in my wheel. So applying a little bit of logic, right? If you put a spoke in somebody's wheel, you're obstructing their ability to, do something, right? I keep saying this, for idioms and phrases, you can definitely apply context clues, okay? You can apply also logic. So for this one, we've just applied logic. Think of it this way, right? Think of a bicycle, you're riding it, and in that wheel, if somebody put something, like here they're saying a spoke, let's just keep it simple, they put a stick in between, right? So what will happen? Obviously, you're going to fall down. Right? That's what they're talking about. So which means it's not allowing you to cycle further. Basically, a spoke is nothing but the one of the bars or rods, right, connecting to the center of the wheel. So imagine that, or a stick. So obviously it's going to obstruct your ability to cycle further. So from the given options, tried to cause an accident, helped in the execution of the plan, thwarted in the execution of the plan, destroyed the plan. So the most obvious one is thwarted. Again, if you're not familiar with this word, you might miss out on getting the right answer. Thwarted means basically obstructed. right? So are you following? To prevent something, thwarted, to prevent something, someone or something, right, from accomplishing something. That's what it means. So basically, in all this, what we can come to a conclusion as a conclusion is, first we need to get into the habit of taking a test, right? As I had suggested to Raj, get an idea of what your challenging question type is. Try and apply, when you take time to practice, try and apply these concepts that I shared with you in this session. I've taken earlier sessions as well, specifically on, whether it's context clues or prefixes, suffixes or root words. Maybe you can look that up. But you can also feel free to join us, because we have a whole load of constructive videos on various concepts, not just for verbal ability but for other subjects as well. So I would encourage you to visit our website, take a look at it and see if there's anything that will really help you bag those and clear those aptitude tests and bag the job in IT sector or other sectors. You should go ahead and use that opportunity and join us, right? So feel free to leave a comment. We've come to the end of this session. Thank you for watching, and thank you for also clarifying your doubts and asking questions. I think that's something that's very critical. A lot of you just choose to be silent, but it's good that you're learning from each other as well and learning from us. So stay tuned. We will be with another interesting session next Friday at 6 o'clock on another topic, on another subject. So you can also, in the meantime, let us know if there's anything particular that you would like for us to take. We can accommodate that as well, right? Thank you and have a nice weekend.